Hello, and welcome to the delicious recipe. It's March, I believe it's March 3rd, and the title of tonight's show is Pancakes for Dinner. We had pancakes for dinner. I got that was a couple days ago, though, but I got my lovely other half there,
What do you call
Lorilei.
her?
Yes, from the Angel Rock. They're joining me there today, and say hello, Lorilei.
Hello, Laura Lee.
There you go. Yes, that joke never gets old.
Never gets
And
old.
yes, and so if you're listening along, we're on many platforms, and we're also on YouTube here. If you want to watch us live, it is UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio. We're also on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and I think SoundCloud, Apple, whatever, all the other places there. UPRN. And if you want to check out extra content and that, become a member of the UPRN following group there. And for, I'm not sure what the price is there anyway. I think it's like less than $5 or something like that, or maybe it is $5. But there's extra bonus content that's there for extra shows, and you can check out the other hosts that are on the station and what they're doing there. And tonight, this is just an open dinner, open conversation. That's how I sort of put it. So lots of stuff going on in the world, and there's one part here that we'll get into a little bit in a bit. There is about what's going on in the Canadian parliamentary House of bills. They're looking about trying to change and amend and fix, and this sort of goes into this whole part about why this whole trucker thing went on there, and the Emergencies Act. That'll come in a little bit later. But we also have a war going on, or in the other part of the world, and just seeing through social media and other people that are uh, following what the mainstream media is sort of saying, and I think a lot of people have the wrong. Are being fed the wrong sort of information about what actually is going on there. What have you found there, Laura?
Yes, actually, I just did a podcast with somebody. I do quite a few podcasts with Karen Holton from Quantum Health Transformation Program. She's got a great show. She's a fellow Canadian. We were just on Forbidden Knowledge News. We pre-recorded it, so it should be out tomorrow. And Chris Matthew owns and runs that network, and he was having us on specifically to talk about what was going on in Canada. And one of the things that we felt was so important to say was that people all around the world, it seems, even independent news, and we appreciate that they're giving us a shout out about what was going on with the truckers and the movement it started. But the misinformation out there is that people seem to think this is all about the jab, we'll call it, to be safe because we're on certain platforms. And it's not. It is about all the civil liberties and freedoms that we have lost as Canadians. And most people aren't aware of that actually until they talk to someone from Canada who's awake. And that's just like talking to anybody from any country. Because I do want to add that those that were sort of the faces of this movement when it started, 99.9% of them were all jabbed. So it was not about whether or not you had to get jabbed. That's not quite what it was about. And I'm sure we'll get into that tonight.
Yes, and this comes into this part. This is I just actually just had received this. I'm not sure if I got it from you or I got it from somebody else that was uh, off there that sent it to me. But this was. I guess I'll start off with this because this makes it sort of a little bit interesting there because when distraction happens because the big news for the past 2 years has all been about the sea, the
Big
and
C.
yes, all about that. And I'm not talking about cancer. I'm talking about the thing why businesses close down and stuff like that.
I
That's
think you
what I'm
have to
talking
live
about.
under a rock not to know what the big C stands for. So,
Right. So this is, and you can check this out. And I guess a part there it comes down to is that I see and hear a lot of people on social media and even through my peer group and stuff like that that they don't care about politics at all. But
mm-hmm.
this is the important part though is that you should actually care about politics because then you're wondering about why is it costing you $5 a gallon U.S. gallon for gas. I did this. I posted this about 2 weeks ago. So went to the pumps $1.67 Canadian per liter of gas. Okay, now there's 3.785 is the conversion rate to a U.S. gallon, right? So that comes out to $6.32 Canadian per U.S. gallon, or with the conversion of from Canadian to American money, because I think we're at 78 cents Canadian for $1 comes out to $4.93 US for a US gallon of gas. And that's pretty incredible because when you figure that where it was 2 years ago and to now, and I always have this sort of this thought about like Canada has the oil sands, huge amount of gas and stuff like that, but our government has given that away to other countries and other interests. Like you
Mhm.
figure that you would you fix your house and make things better for the people that live in your house first before you
Mhm.
go and give everything away down the street. And this was even another part there, even during that during the big C stuff there a couple of years ago when JT and the Muppet Gang there were doing stuff and Parliament was basically closed. He was writing executive orders or parliamentary orders, and
Mhm.
he was giving away money to his vacation place down in the Caribbean. Like here, we're going to go and give $38 million of Canadian taxpayer money down there, while Canadians are struggling and businesses are struggling here at home. That's why I said always fix your house first before you fix the guy's house down the road.
Mhm.
Hey,
Well, I think it's important. I agree with you, and I always have. And hey, Dave Petrella, nice to see you. I think it's so important, and we see this all the time. And Mr. JT and the Muppet Gang got hung up on this about when all this stuff is happening with the Ukraine and Russia, and he did a press conference that Canada will not stand for oppression and the loss of freedom and other nations, and we will stand for it. Hello? What have you done to your own citizens? But this
right.
is the whole point. What I want to add to people too, it's very, very long. It's not Nuremberg Trials 2.0, but Dr. Reiner Fulmich has been working on this for over a year and a half, 12 to 18 hours a day. He's a lawyer both in the US and Germany, and he has put together experts from all over the world. We are talking economics, we're talking eugenics, we're talking medicine, we are talking the jab, we are talking everything you could possibly think of. People that worked up high up in these organizations that have come out from all over the world. And I strongly suggest, if you hear anything I say to you, please spend the time to watch it, every man, woman, and child. Because when you do, he has woven this so beautifully together and fit all the pieces of the puzzle together. And you realize what this actually all is, because we run into people all the time, Del, that, they're starting to realize things aren't quite adding up. What's going on here? But the big thing that stops them is, well, why would they want to do this to us? Why would they want to censor us? Why would they want, no, but they can't even fathom that there's that kind of evil. And what it is really is, once you uncork the bottle and let the genie out, you can't separate any of these topics. They're all so deeply interwoven.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people inherently are good. They are. Whether they may not be good to each other or what have you, most people have a sense of decency. So to try and fathom what kind of evil's behind all this, they can't even begin to process it, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like I was watching there today was actually was a PBS. It was like two and a
Mm-hmm.
half hour long interview, and I'd have to go back and look. And let me just check and see if I can find it there. But what they were basically talking about was back in, I think this was from 2015, and talking about the situation with Russia and
Ukraine.
there it was. Yeah, okay, it was Frontline PBS official Putin files. Here, I'll turn this around so if people are watching, they can see what it is. I think it was right there. Putin Files by Masha Gessen there. And there was another one I watched there, Putin's Way documentary too as well. See, this is the thing though, is that when I do research, I listen to the good, the bad, all the different sides and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But
You should.
a lot of different points that were sort of brought out there is that you understand what you start to see a bigger picture what's going on there. Now, if
Mhm.
people don't know what NATO is, and I think a lot of people don't understand what NATO is, I popped this up here. Okay, NATO members. There's about 30 members that are in there, but there was a part of the agreement that was done with the agreement with Russia is that NATO would move no further east. No other members would be involved in this, right? And that would be close to their borders. Well, Ukraine is right on their borders, okay?
Mhm.
And then there's a whole different story about uh, dealing with oil and gas and natural gas pipelines and energy and stuff like that. We were almost at, this is why I said the whole thing about Canada with the oil sands, and same with the U.S. with their energy production. You have a whole different government narrative where they want to go green and not do anything, but they want to deal with energy over in foreign countries. And you have to wonder about that whole Hunter Biden thing with Burisma. That's a whole energy thing there too. There's so
Mhm.
many things that are intertwined and there's
Interwoven.
interwoven and monies that are being sort of directed around there. And you have to wonder what happened. Like there was the coup that happened in the Ukraine there 8 years ago, and different functions
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But the part there out of this NATO thing was is that NATO would not expand any more east towards Russia, and Ukraine was one of the. But there's been talks about having them go and join with NATO as well. And when Germany, part of Germany, there joined with that, that was already one infraction already, right? They've already moved forward. So you got to figure it's almost like your neighbor being there, a neighbor that you don't really want to be there, and all of a sudden they start growing their garden or their tree starts encroaching into your backyard. You sort of get a little bit upset, right? And then that's what seems to happen. But there's a way more stuff involved in this, and I just want to, if you're interested there too as well, you can check out Jimmy Dore. The Jimmy Dore show has been doing a lot of really interesting stuffs on there, and even going to old interviews with I think it was Norm Chomsky was one of them. They're explaining this whole NATO Russia stuff there. Actually, even Russell Brand there too has done some really interesting stuff there. But you got to think about this. A lot of it to do is with control and money and how things are going to progress further. And I'll stop it there. What do you think there, Laura?
Well, I agree with you because the shift seems to have shifted, if you will, from what we went through the last 2 years, including what went on with the truckers here in Canada. There was no mention of it whatsoever. We've got what's going on in Russia and the Ukraine. So people's attention is diverted. Meanwhile, there are some huge, huge reports that have come out. There's been two that I know of, one in Germany with one of the biggest life insurers over in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
as well as one of the bigger companies here, I believe in the US, about the death claims that they are seeing a 40% increase over what has happened in the last few years. They didn't see any increases, by the way, in claims. This is their words, not mine,
Mm-hmm.
with what's been going on the last 2 years until this year. And the biggest rise seems to be, I believe, under the age of 50 to 55, down to, I think they've only been counting up to the age of 18. We've
Mm-hmm.
got Thomas Rentz in the US with a whistleblower from the military releasing some very troubling findings. And your just favorite things of, say, miscarriage up, I believe, 500% more. I could be wrong. I think it's even more than that. I know that
Oh,
that's a pet peeve of yours. This,
don't,
I won't
don't.
get you started.
Mm,
But the other thing is, too, is there has been a leaked document, very interesting document. You can find it. It's going all over the place. It's 38 pages from, I'll spell it, Pfizer, that apparently this info was out there before the jab was released, and I'm very well aware of the side effects that people are incurring now at the moment. So
mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is we're drawing attention away from all these big things that are happening, right?
Yep.
And we've got people that are looking at mainstream media and really aren't looking at the big picture. They're donning the blue and yellow flag. And I'm not pointing a finger at anybody, but when we really break this down and we take a look at it, I seen an incredible post today, I believe it was off of TikTok, from somebody that's lived in the Ukraine and went through how long this has been going on, who's actually been involved with this, who is. And all of a sudden, now these were their words again, not mine, all these people flexing, as they said on social media, with the yellow and blue flag of Ukraine. I
Yep.
stand with Ukraine, not knowing the big picture. And that they were angry. They were really angry because they were trying to explain what's been going on, like you said, even back to 8-10 years ago, and nobody paid a second's notice. And they said because it wasn't reported in mainstream media. My whole point is people's attention is being pulled away from, I think, very important revelations that are coming out right now, and I think it's by design.
Yes, and this comes into this whole big part that I was mentioned at the very beginning, is that this page there, I printed it out because it's too hard for me to read on here, and the computer use there is sort of out there. But this comes it's actually from the Real Pat King Freedom Convoy 2022. And so it says, while everyone is being distracted, this comes from ourcommons.ca, and that's the Canadian House of Commons site, and it's ON. Where am I writing there? ON. OURCOMMONS.ca. And this is why I talked about why it's sort of important to find out what your government is sort of doing there. So there's a bunch of different amendments and changes that they want to make to our Canadian, I guess, laws, bills, and stuff like that, and or our constitution. So there's you can go through these all. This I just briefly wrote down or printed off what he had there, but these are the certain bills that they want to change parts of, and this has sort of happened before when they did with the Human Rights Code and changing instead of humankind or mankind, to change it to humankind and change words and change different speech and stuff like that through Canada. And like even we had that whole part there with that guy that dressed up his car to make look like an RCMP car and then shot somebody, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, JT goes and puts through. These are all the guns that are going to be banned in 2 years, and this is like this didn't even go through Parliament. He just this is what's being done, and that's not the way that a democracy or a government should be doing. Like there should be referendums held on this stuff there where people get to talk and voice their opinions, but no, just a total authoritarian, totalitarian government head. What do you want to go back to monarchy type of thing there? That's why we got rid of the queen in a way, but just like one person should not be making all the rules for everybody across
Yeah,
the
but what
board.
people don't understand, and I'm finding this out just very quickly, Del, and sorry to mean to interrupt, but I think it adds to this discussion. There's this thing that's going around. I've got about 10 different copies and videotapes and stuff of people calling the Governor General's office. Now, the Governor General in Canada is representative of the Queen, to make it very simple, pretty
Correct, yep.
high up in her government. It's been going around that if the Governor's General office receives 985,000 phone calls, there Canadians are registering a vote of no confidence against Mr. JT and the Muppet Band, that he will be forced to resign. Well, guess what, folks? There's been a link going around with that. People are not reading it. They're just like, yes, let's call. We got to do this. Well, what they don't realize is right in the darn link, Canadians are not aware of this. And this goes back to your comment at the beginning, why it's important to understand about politics. I never got into it either, and I'm realizing I didn't really need to, but yes, we do. Canadians cannot register a vote of no confidence. That has to come within our legislature. It has to be voted on. There's a whole process, and only the Governor General can do that. Canadians have zero, zip, nil, not a power to remove our leader. Plus, the thing a lot of people don't realize, in Canada, our leader can be there indefinitely. We have no way to remove them. His father was in power for 27 years.
Oh, he got voted in. Yeah, he kept on getting re-voted in again there. But
but there's no length of term like in the
yeah,
US. The
that's right.
president's
Yeah,
got 2 terms and that's it.
yeah,
You're done.
that
Unless your
yeah.
wife maybe runs and then maybe you got more. But
Yeah, that was sort of a really crazy one there too. When I saw that after Bill Clinton did his thing there, and then all of a sudden Hillary Clinton's going to run, and then I go, well, that's the same
family.
duo, the same duo. So
I was joking and saying she already had her turn when Bill was in office.
yeah, well, that's true.
Mhm.
But getting
Mhm.
back to this part here, it said so. Okay, so this was ourcommons.ca. This is the website. This is a Canadian government website. So this he went through all this stuff there, and these are bills that they're looking to amend, change, or put in there. So this first one there is Bill S-233, an act to develop a guaranteed livable basic income. Hey, that sounds pretty good. Hey, right?
Ooh,
That's a good one. Bill
Agenda 2030.
Bill S-232, an act respecting the decriminalization of illegal controlled substances and drugs. Hey, well, that's an interesting one. Isn't that what Trudeau ran on there about legalizing marijuana
The
and that
green
part of it?
stuff,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So then, here we go. Bill S-231, an act to amend the Criminal Code, Criminal Records Act, National Defense Act, and the DNA Database Act. Now we're starting to get a little bit weird here. This is what another part about ID passports and DNA tracking and stuff like DNA tracking. Sorry,
Mhm.
tracking and that. Like,
It is coming. We
yes,
know that. They're pretty
right.
open about it here. Mhm.
Well, and just a side note on this too is that they had, I think it was was it the TD Bank or was one of, it wasn't the Royal Bank. I think it was the TD Bank about pushing forward this bill about linking your health records and your banking records and your passport all together
Yeah, it
because
is.
they can better serve you because then they can know exactly who you are when you need to get your money out of the bank and nobody can
Mhm.
go and do this. You see, it's all under this whole thing about, hey, we're helping to serve you, but no, actually,
It's
you're
gonna make it
being
so much easier.
yes, and it's basically it's a tracking record, and that was another part that was with this truckers thing about the guy pulls up to the border to go in there, and his phone had already gone and sent the information to the border control before he even gave his what was it that little
That he was
sticker.
jabbed. That
Yeah,
he was jabbed. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. Okay. So Bill S-226, an act to amend the Constitution Act of 1867 and the Parliament of Canada Act. And I think it's dealing with the Speaker of the Senate. And now, what is the act of the Constitution Act of 1867, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you right now. The Constitution Act of 1867 is a major part of the Constitution of Canada. The Act created a federal dominion and defines much of the operation of the Government of Canada, including its federal structure, the House of Commons, the Senate, the justice system, and the taxation system. That's just basically in a nutshell, right? So now they want to go play around with that, right? And this has all been talked about before, and it's been talked about many times about taking over stuff from the population. Another one here, S-225, an act to amend and the prohibiting of cluster munitions and investments. That, I don't know why the guns and money go together, but that's the little changes they want to make on there, and there it's unbelievable. S-224, an act to amend the criminal code, trafficking in persons. Now they were talking about this while the trucker protest was going on about people bringing their kids to the protest and that, and they were calling it that was trafficking. So you have to see where these words sort of play in because mainstream media was talking about this and using language like this. Okay, Bill S-218, an act in regards to gender equality. Okay, well, see, you're playing all around the place here. Uh, S-212, repeal regulations and to make consequential amendments to other acts. So now you can just go ahead
Just
and
give ourselves the power to write a blank
just change
check.
yeah, just change things out. Okay, well, we don't like this one now, just change it so you just
You know,
bypass all of parliament.
You know
right?
what, though? The whole point of pointing this out for people that aren't from Canada, and hi, UFO Bigfoot, welcome, says howdy,
Oh yeah,
y'all, is that yes, this is applicable to where we live. But
yeah.
like, I'm going to bring up the podcast I did earlier with Chris from Forbidden Knowledge News,
Hmm.
is the fact that this is going on more than likely something very similar in your countries where you're listening from. You
Hmm.
just got to take a look and do a little bit of digging, because this is planned globally, just like it was, everything else that's gone on globally. I
Yes.
really believe that.
Well, that was that whole part there when the Klaus Schwab interview, and how he had the young leaders of tomorrow and all the people that were involved in that, and all the, I guess the training that they all took, and that's a very interesting.
No, that he has half of our cabinet and Justin
Yeah.
Trudeau in his back pocket. Now, you didn't see this video. I know Dave Petrella saw it. I sent it to him. Somebody sent me yesterday Klaus Schwab's main advisor. Now, when you hear what he has to say, including that why would we pay any mind to some nominal, basically pretend figure that lives up in the fluffy clouds, when basically we are gods. We are the ones with the money, we are the ones with the
Mhm.
science, and we can hack humanity's brains and bodies, basically. They can do whatever they want. And he was very clear about this. So these are things, like I said, it sounds like science fiction or some kind of crazy movie, or that we're wearing tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, but we're not. Like I said, these are his words. These aren't mine. This is from a video of him and numerous clips from different presentations, him talking about this.
Yeah.
So when you see this happening, is it
Yeah.
people that feel that are slaves, they're also
Yeah.
not
I
free?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we got five more here to go through here
Well,
before
let's
our
people
time
want to
runs
hear
out here.
anything.
But this is interesting too as well, because this comes into this whole part of what happened in Ottawa with the trucker rally there too. So the bill partners repurposing of certain seized, frozen, or sequestered assets. So that's basically saying that the
Mm-hmm.
government can go and take your property, your bank account, and take it all. You got left with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they can just do that whenever they feel that it's right. That makes no, that they were talking about that before with people that had got their trucks and they were just taken, they were put into an impound yard, and it says, and the mayor of Ottawa had said, it says, well, we've seized them, they're ours now, and we'll sell them so we can pay for
Mm-hmm.
the the army that we brought in here under the Emergencies Act.
Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense, right? Okay, amend the criminal code of judiciary. Now, I'm not sure what the whole thing is. That I guess it's just changing the way the court systems run. Respecting declaration essential role of artist creative expression in Canada. Okay, so that's the goes into the whole part about this uh, multiculturalism and things like that. And yeah, well, that's okay one there. Canada's election regulations adapting for purposes of referendum. Now that's changing the voting and how voting is done and how referendums are run, and changing how that act is. See, this gets into stuff there where you as the population or the populace lose more of your freedoms and rights, and how you want the people in government to be elected. That's the way I look at that one there. And the last one, S4, an act to amend the criminal code and identification of criminals act related to the amendment during the COVID-19 thing. So that goes into the whole part about this thing about people, whether they were jabbed or not, whether they were arrested or not, or whatever. This can go in there and change the way that uh, you were labeled in society. And this gets into this whole thing that the social credit score gets into the whole part
I
about.
think it's already started. I've
Oh, it
seen a
has.
leaked document from the government already, and the things that they're going to measure and what they
Yep.
are. Like, it's pretty crazy, folks. And you see, they're going to be measuring whether you're involved in community involvement, volunteer work,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things. And it took I think a 24-year-old man. Now they said it was an example. I don't know if it was a leaked document. I'm not sure what it was, but this isn't just specific to Canada. That's why we're just talking from what we know. But this is going on when you talk, like I'm talking to people from all different countries, just like a lot of people do with the advent of the internet. And I think that's the best place to find out when you're talking to somebody that does their own research, is open-minded, checks everything out. Because at the beginning of all this, I still remember this when I walked in and I watched you watching a certain news source that
Mm-hmm.
we know is in the mainstream and hasn't been very truthful. And I said, what are you watching this crap, I'll say, for? And I remember what you said exactly. You said, Lord, we need to look at everything. We need to know everything that's out there, take a look. So at least we've got a well-rounded view,
Mm-hmm.
and we can make a better decision or whatever way, or discover information versus being only one-sided, right? And you're right
Yep.
about that.
Yeah, exactly. This is when I always find this funny is when I'll see people on social media and their points will be they're just regurgitating CNN or
Hmm.
regurgitating and going, okay, well, yeah, that's one part of the view, but you don't. That's not the whole part of the view, and that's the thing. You
Get the
need
whole
to
picture.
you need to look at everything, and we've talked about this before. Is that if you have the time, and I think that's really important to to do is uh, go look at other countries' news, what they're talking about your country,
Yeah.
because you'll get a totally different. Well, well, you'll get a different perspective of how other people are looking back at you, right?
Hmm.
It's like the whole thing about looking in the mirror or having somebody look from the outside of the house looking at you, what you're doing,
Hmm.
right? And that's important. And I think the biggest thing to do is to research. Spend the time. If you got enough time there to go and play around on play Angry Birds or whatever else that's going on there, or to do stuff, it's just listen to other content that's out there.
Hmm.
We have such a vast array of technology now that it just takes 2 seconds. You just have to go and look. Maybe that's the best way
Or
to.
even multitask. Like I know it's quite daunting, and I mentioned, welcome to all the people that are joining us here. We got Truth Bomb, we got Joseph Poppert
Yeah.
Jr. Welcome, thank you for joining us. It's long. Every day of testimony is anywhere from 4 to 6 hours with this Reiner Fulmich
Hmm.
grand jury. It's called. You can find it all over Odyssey. It was on YouTube. I don't know if it still is, but Odyssey has everything there as well as interviews.
Hmm.
And the interesting part is they've taken a 2 week break, but they're going to be coming back. But like I said, the reason why, and you're hearing people say it's Nuremberg Trials 2.0, it's not. He's made that very clear. We, the people, are the jury. They have a real judge. They've got real lawyers from all across the world, 5 or 6 different lawyers. Then they are presenting people's real life stories as well as testimony from, again, like Dave Petrella says, that's right, that's a Gemini way, looking at the whole picture. But I really believe this is what they're doing, and putting all the pieces together and showing people all that's involved. And I think it's so important. Like I found it particularly interesting when they got into the economic breakdown and when they got into eugenics. And I know, so do you, about eugenics, but I can honestly say, and I think don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm a know-it-all, but well versed in what's going on. I learned a lot listening to this. So even if you can multi or triple task, turn it on in the background. Plus, I believe they're revamping all the presentations. They're in multiple languages, but they're breaking them up into 20 to 30-minute segments, because 6 hours is a long time to sit and listen. So at least if you get a little chunk here, little chunk there, and you can get, because I think every human being on the planet should be watching this, really. And anybody that's watched it has said the same thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is you can remember this that I said that
Excuse me.
you get as you're a little child, you're asking questions all over
Mm-hmm.
the place. You go to school, you're told the questions and the answers, and basically you study that, and that's what you regurgitate out. When you're done school, all you do is you stop asking questions. And I think people need to ask questions more. They have to wonder about what's going on a little bit more outside of their bubble of what their daily life is, and see what is affecting why is gas at $1.67 Canadian a liter, like when it was it was way like a year or two ago it
A lot
was
of
less
people
than
don't,
that.
though. Like you said, Dal, like,
So,
you hear the saying, curiosity killed the cat, or
yeah,
people that ask too many questions, right?
yeah,
I had a professor or a teacher years back that said the only dumb question is the one you don't ask, and he's right.
yeah,
But a lot of people don't. And when instead of asking why is gas the price that it is, people just say, well, that's the way it is.
yeah,
It's inflation, or that's, you know what I mean? And the other thing is, I find with people, unless it affects you directly, meaning the global you,
yeah,
all you do is look at that. You might say, oh my, that's sad. Well, it's not happening here. Thank goodness, and carry on with life.
yeah.
Instead of
Well,
realizing that what you may be seeing, yeah, it's not in your bubble right now, but there's a good chance with the way things are going that it may very well be coming into your bubble in the future. So it doesn't hurt to be aware
yeah.
and, take a look at things.
Well, that's actually true, and that just doesn't just even go with this the sea that happened over the last 2 years, but this has
Mm-hmm.
happened with many other just even any other medicines that were out there, or just even
Mm-hmm.
environmental things. Is that people didn't worry about it, and then they found out, oh yeah, well it's because this company was dumping spraying toxic chemicals over
Mm-hmm.
here that leached into the water system that caused this, that made all these other people sick. And it's the same thing that goes with medication. It says that it doesn't work the same for every single people, and this is the big issue that I've been talking about since this began at the beginning. Is
Mm-hmm.
that government should never mandate medication for everybody. That's between you and your doctor, and that's how it works for you. Is because you can go open up a bottle of aspirin, and there's a white page in there. Probably everybody just throws that in the recycling bin, but there's a whole like two sides of a page that shows you all the side
Mm-hmm.
effects of taking that, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just with that, right? There was no page that came around when they stuck something in your arm, right? So it's just
Well,
it's
there
just
was, but it said purposely left blank. Now that should be, I'm a nurse, as
yeah.
most I know you know this, but for other people. And I've often said during all of this, thank God I'm off with my back because permanently, because I would have had to quit, because the first thing I learned in university as a nurse, right person, right dose, you had to know the side effects, you had to know drug interactions, you had to, like, there was so much you had to know.
Hmm.
And I'm regulated by a professional college, as most professions are regulated, whether whatever it may be. Like with the iron workers, you had a union, but there was people you answer to that regulate these kind of professions.
Hmm.
And just because you say that was my job, I was told I had to do it. No, 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 no. There's going to be, eventually there's going to come a day where you're going to have to answer,
Yeah.
why did you get this? You didn't know what you were giving. You didn't know what was in there, and they didn't. They had no idea. When it's at the page you pull out is completely blank on both sides, and it says purposely left blank. Oh well, I trust them. It says purposely left blank. I'll just inject it because that's my job.
Yeah.
No. And we know that as nurses, that we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that comes with it comes with this sort of territory that was done there when governments force mandates, right? That means
Mm-hmm.
that they get to bypass everything. And this is the this is what I'm worried about in the future. And it's not anything about, like, you know what, if you want to get jabbed, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
I don't care. Right? You do whatever you want to do with your body. Don't
Mm-hmm.
force it on me. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, though, is that when it comes out later on down the road, I just hope that I don't ever have to say I told you so when people start getting sick for
It's
certain
going
things.
to be
Yeah.
hard. And the other thing is too, is where do you draw the line in the sand? Like maybe you don't have a problem with it right now, but how are you going to feel if your government decides to tell you, hey, we got to kidney organ donation shortage. So you know what? Human beings only need one kidney to live with. We need your kidney. Reminds me of that meaning of life with
Oh yeah,
Monty
yeah,
Python. And I
yeah,
know I'm making a
yeah.
joke, but I'm
Oh,
not.
yeah,
What if they did?
you filled out your donor card. We're here to collect. Well, I'm still
We're
not
here.
done with it yet.
Oh, you only need one, or your liver can regenerate. We'll take most of it. We'll leave you with a piece. Like, and I'm serious. I'm not being facetious about this. Like, where do you draw the line in the sand?
Mhm.
Because again, it's true. Human beings only need one kidney to live with. So what if they decide that they want your kidney or your liver? Like, seriously, it can regenerate. You just need a piece if you're healthy and what have you. So they decide and they tell you got to do that. And
Yeah.
people say, "Oh no, they'll never do that." Would you ever have thought we'd be where we are 2 years, like
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's sort of funny. I just now I'm totally all thinking about
I know.
Monty Python
We're going to
and
be watching that movie tonight. Now I can just
yeah,
see. Yeah.
yeah. But
And the songs from there. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch it. It's a good Monty Python movie.
yeah. Well, I've mentioned this many times before, and I know it just always seems like it's uh I mean, maybe I keep on saying it, maybe I'm just told to say this so maybe that people sort of start remembering and stuff like that is
Hmm.
that whenever you give government power, you give anybody that has power and they put something in the action that they say is temporary or it's there, it never goes away. Just like in 1917 when the tax was brought in there to go and help with the war and that, it was a temporary tax. This is 100 years plus afterwards, and things are more taxed more in Canada
Hmm.
than any not anywhere else, but everything is taxed. And then they blame this thing on called this make believe thing called inflation, right?
Hmm.
What is inflation? Inflation is poor government mismanagement of funds
Hmm.
and resources that causes price to rise. As this is the thing, as technology improves, technology does cost a little bit of money and stuff like that, but it it's supposed to make things easier and better for the rest, not make
Hmm.
it better for the 1% that's at the top. That's
Hmm.
the way it is. It's you're supposed to improve the quality of life, make things cheaper. A potato 50 years ago is the same potato today, but now it costs more.
Hmm.
With the machinery that you can go and till 500 football fields that one person would take a
Hmm.
month to do, right? That you have to put these little things together and look at this outside the box almost way and look at it going, yeah, why is that? And people aren't asking these questions. That's it. That's what I say on here all the time. Ask questions and look and research. That's the thing. Just wondering
Hmm.
why is that costing so much now when it was back then this price? And if I hear the thing there, well, it's inflation. Just accept it. You know what? Then I'm done talking to you.
No, but it's the same as September 11th, right? Did
Yeah.
we ever go back to the way we used to fly before?
No.
No. That's where I think your point is that once
Yeah.
it happens, and we're not anti anything, we're just sharing this with people because a lot of people that listen to this are aware of it already, but
Yeah.
maybe you are just newly waking up to what's going on and you know you're thinking, my God, what the heck is going on here? You know, we're just giving you a little bit here to look at in your own countries. Do a little digging, do a
Yeah.
little research, try and be open minded, check out a bunch of different sources and see what resonates with you, what makes sense. Because I
Yep.
think if it made, you know what, I think that was a death of common sense with what was going on. Most people have logic and some sort of common sense. Like, take
Yep.
a look at things. Does one plus one equal two?
Yep. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly right. And like I said here on the delicious recipe, we throw everything in the pot and we see how it tastes at the end, whether you like it or not, or maybe you just take a little part of that and you create your own recipe and you go from that. Okay, we're running to our end of the time here, Lorilei. Tell them what you got going on and what's where they can find you.
Okay, I'm the host of, what am I the host of? The Angel Rock on Monday nights here on United Public Radio Network from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern. And this Monday, I think I can announce it, I'm going to be having one of our amazing hosts off of the network. She has her own show on Wednesdays and Thursday nights, as well as a show with Joe Montaldo, the owner of our network, Michelle DeRoche on Monday night.
Awesome.
So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great interview. Also, if you ever want to get a hold of me to book a reading, anything like that, healing sessions, teaching, mentoring, you can find me on facebook.com/Yangerak. And thank you for having me.
Awesome there. And we are the Delicious Recipe, or I am the Delicious Recipe, the Dell here on UPRN. And as it is, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments and stuff like that. They're on there. I'll just read it off really quickly. There's Dave Petrella, UFO Bigfoot, Truth Bomb, and Joseph Poppert Jr. Thanks all for your comments and stuff like that. And we'll see you all next week there. Ciao.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Much love.